Welcome to my channel.
Wife 44F cheated. I 45M filed for divorce when I found out and she tried to kill herself on New Year's Eve. Right, where to begin? The STBXW and I were together for over 25 years, 22 of those married. Prior to this, there were no infidelities or large problems. We have 4 children, a pair of twins, boy and girl 20 years old, a son that's 19 and our youngest daughter is 15. I filed for divorce mid-December and had her move out of our home and back with her parents. Got a lot of voicemail left and emails and even handwritten letters about how sorry she is about what she's done, but I never replied in any way. When it finally dawned on her I was really going through this and there was nothing she could do to stop it, she attempted suicide. In all likelihood, she would have died had her parents not stayed at home to keep an eye on her. From what I've been told, she tried to overdose on pills, but no one knows where she got them in the first place. Her infidelity apparently became fully physical only recently, late November or early December, but even before that she was emotionally cheating for at least a few months before that. I don't care to find out how long, since it wouldn't really help me in any way. Since it was a married man with whom she had the affair, I'd notified his wife, so he's getting divorced too. Add to that, they're co-workers, which is how they met in the first place, and I assume they used work time to start the affair. For those that are going to ask, how did you find out? The answer is I didn't. Our son and daughter, the twins, did. They saw their mother kissing with the other man, in public. The place in question isn't somewhere where any of us usually pass through, and then they proceeded to inform me. I started digging around and found more than enough evidence of a prolonged affair. I don't have many deal breakers, and believe that marriage is something that's a continuous work in progress. You have to do your part to keep it alive and well, but cheating is something that I absolutely will not overlook or forgive. To cheat is to take a shit on all the time you spent together, to take a dump on your shared lives. It's nothing more than selfishness and cruelty. I'm just telling you so you can understand me a bit better. Maybe, but that's a really reaching maybe, I could have tried to look past this if it had been a one-time thing and she immediately came to me, contrite and remorseful. But she wasn't. I mean, she only started sobbing and bawling once she got caught, and that to me is utterly worthless. It's easy to cry once your shit is put into the spotlight, but before all this? I've never noticed anything remorseful about her or any sign of guilt. I just can't live with someone like that. Thankfully, all of the kids were supporting and understanding when I told them I was going to divorce their mother. Our youngest cried more than I did, but said I was doing the right thing, for all of us. She did ask me if she could live with me. The other 3 already have places of their own, by their own choice, and I told her she didn't even have to ask. I think that's the best thing in this situation overall, just having the kids there showing me not all of those years being with my wife were a waste. Whatever she's like now, I can at least be grateful for our children, if nothing else. I love them more than anything. Unfortunately, nearly everyone we know, barring the friends who were my friends before they became the families, are trying to get me to stop the divorce and talk to her, go into counseling or some other nonsense. More so after the suicide attempt. Needless to say, all those people are on my shit list and I've cut all forms of communication with them. Sadly, that includes the in-laws, whom I've really loved before all this happened, since I'm an orphan myself and saw them as the family I never had. They tried getting to me through their grandkids, which has soured them on visiting their grandparents in the near future. The kids tell me they love them, but they just can't be around them at this time because they're being so overbearing. They've also chosen to distance themselves from their mother, though they're still in touch obviously. I'm in therapy myself, going through some counseling because for all that's happened I feel nothing. When I look back at finding out about all this, I see the lack of rage and hurt is very worrying. My therapist says I've numbed myself on purpose, to help me get through this easier. I don't know. Before all this, if anyone asked me how I felt about my marriage and wife, I'd probably tell them I was as happy as I could be, with a big smile on my face. Now? Nothing. When I heard about the suicide attempt, you might as well have told me the weather forecast for the day. I didn't feel anything. Not for me personally, anyway. I was angry, in a way, as to what this could have done to our children, but beyond that, her trying to kill herself just doesn't get a reaction out of me. I'm not happy that she's realized how much she's ruined our lives, but I'm not feeling any sort of empathy either. I can't. It's just that I look at the situation and think yes, and? How is that any concern of mine? I'm not like that. Or at least I don't think I was like that before all of this. And my therapist assures me the numbness will pass, it's part of the healing process, but here we are, more than a month later and I still feel nothing about what happened. I'm honestly not sure if that's good or bad. I'll just have to wait and see. As to the rest of my life, the friends that stayed true to me aren't letting me spend much time alone. They understand that I do need some time for myself every now and again, but they don't want me too alone. It all seems so different now, you know? Now, my main concern here is about our kids. For now, they're keeping away from her, of their own free choice. I didn't poison them against their mother or anything of the sort, they just don't want to talk to her much at all. Our youngest has been hit the hardest by her mother's infidelity, and I've been thinking of maybe having her go for some therapy too, if we can't resolve this on our own. This is what really bothers me about the whole thing, that our children reacted so severely to their mother's infidelity. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't glad that they did react negatively to it, because it goes to show that they understand that adultery is no small matter and that it can, like it has for us, destroy marriages and families. But I'm worried about long term. Will they get over this? Will they eventually form a tangible relationship with their mother? Will they heal? If any of you folks have been in any situation as similar as ours, please share your experiences. TL, doctor, wife cheated, I filed for divorce, she tried to kill herself, and our children have been hit pretty roughly by all this, but they've supported me all the way. What can I do to make this easier for them? What can I do to help them heal? Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1, just talk to them. Have an honest conversation. Sit them down one by one, if need be, and explain to them that you want to know how they're handling the situation. Nothing they feel will hurt your feelings, but you want to make sure they're all right. Your kids are all pretty much adults. Even your youngest is old enough to know what's going on. So approach this pragmatically, as if you're dealing with an adult. If they need additional help, see about getting them some. But it sounds like they've been pretty honest about how they're feeling up to this point. Also, good on you for not going back to her. No contact is the way to go. As much as I hate to say this, she's obviously hurting, and that may have turned her into a bit of an attention seeker. She's going through some things, but just as her mental health is important, so is yours. Don't allow yourself or your children to be put back in an unhealthy situation. Op answer, we've had a few times together, one-on-one, when I'd talk with them about this, when it seemed like it was weighing a lot on their minds. But still, they seem to be cautious, like they expect me to break at any given moment, because I didn't show any big emotion until now. Or I'm just overthinking things. They're really important to me, and I'll see about talking with them again real soon. They've been around more often since this happened, and asking if they maybe would feel more comfortable talking with a professional instead of me. As far as their mother and myself are concerned, I don't have any plans whatsoever to get in touch with her, though it has been hinted at me, by my therapist, that at one point if she sought therapy I might be asked to come along, but I'm not really sure I could or even want to do that. Her mental health, as cold as this may sound, is none of my concern so long as it doesn't have an impact on our children in a negative way. Thank you for your advice and your kind words. Redditor 2, will they get over this? Will they eventually form a tangible relationship with their mother? Will they heal? Both the infidelity and now the suicide attempt are two efforts on her part to reject the life she built with her family. The suicide itself is far more profound, and it is not uncommon for kids to never reconnect with a parent who cheats than attempt suicide. How the kids react to that will be up to their individual personalities and the relationship they had with her previously. I wouldn't be surprised if the teenagers are done with her forever. Their hatred of her will subside, but it's possible that she will never be anything more than a pathetic figure. No child can feel secure with a parent who does those things. No child will admire a parent who does those things. She is a broken mess, and to whatever extent you can, you need to grieve the death of that life in order to move on to the next one. What can I do to make this easier for them? What can I do to help them heal? Make your home as safe, calm, and happy as possible. Fill it with all the light and beauty you can. Make yourself stronger than you are by allowing yourself to be more human and fragile, then let them see you work through the morning and into a stronger place. Try not to take comfort in their negativity towards your ex. Try to encourage them to not entertain that negativity and to be loving and understanding. Op answer, I'm worried about the hatred more than anything else. It's sort of like love, it's an attachment of sorts, because it keeps pulling you towards thinking about someone, even if in a negative way. Make your home as safe, calm, and happy as possible. Fill it with all the light and beauty you can. I think we've accomplished this together for Christmas, since Christmas to us is a time that we spend at home, together, with family and friends too. My friends came with their families and filled up the whole house with noise and cheer, as sappy as it might sound. The kids loved it, and I think they might have even reconnected with some of their own childhood friends. A few of my friends' children are about the age of the twins, and we've known each other for a large portion of our lives. Make yourself stronger than you are by allowing yourself to be more human and fragile, then let them see you work through the morning and into a stronger place. This is a work in progress, I'm afraid. I have no idea if there will ever be a burst in the dam, so to speak, or not. But I want them to know that their dad is fine and he'll live through this and move on with his life. In essence, I don't want them to worry too much about me and live their lives. Try not to take comfort in their negativity towards your ex. Sorry, I might have phrased it poorly. It's not that they're expressing too much negativity towards their mother, but the act itself. Our youngest said to me, in one of our talks, that she doesn't understand how can anyone do what her mother did. She can't understand why she didn't think about the consequences. Try to encourage them to not entertain that negativity and to be loving and understanding. I can't make any promises regarding that, but whatever it helps them along, I'm willing to try at least once. To you, as well, my thanks for the advice and kind words. Redditor 3, I know it's probably not the answer you want, but they need time. There is no way to hurry healing. You being in counseling is a very good thing, keep going. The numbness is concerning. I believe that too will pass with time. When my husband cheated on me, I actually grieved the death of my marriage for many months. You had a good marriage, just as I did. It's not easy, even all this time later, to remember how happy we were and how much I lost. The same will happen to your children, if not now, then in time. My only concern would be that they are not honest with their feelings, due to their loyalty to you. So again, hopefully with time, they will be able to forgive their mother. That's going to be a huge part of the healing they need to do. And that has nothing to do with her, and everything to do with their own mental health and well-being. She may never know whether or not she was forgiven. It's interior too, and important for them. I wish you all the best. Op answer, there is no way to hurry healing. Very true. By no means would I try to do that. I just worry about them putting their lives on hold, no matter how briefly, due to what's happened between their mother and me. It's not easy, even all this time later, to remember how happy we were and how much I lost. It's very unfair, isn't it? To not have even any input in what's going on, to not even be aware of what's going on, and suddenly it's over and done, because how can you trust them after that? Where was the remorse, the guilt when they were committing adultery? I think this is something that does reach me, in a way. The unfairness of it all. My only concern would be that they are not honest with their feelings, due to their loyalty to you. I could see that being an issue. Thinking they have to castigate their mother as a way of supporting me. Another thing to bring up, and that has nothing to do with her, and everything to do with their own mental health and well-being. I understand that much. My therapist has helped me with that, to see if it was something that could help me too, in cracking the ice, so to speak. Forgiveness more often than not has nothing to do with telling someone you forgive them for something they did, but rather letting go of what happened and moving on with your life. I wish you all the best. Thank you. Redditor 4, hi, I'm really sorry you've all been put through this. My mother had an affair and left my young brother, father and I when I was 12 going on 13 after my dad found out and asked her to, with us kids besides him, crying and in shock, and I have never felt the same about her since. The anger I felt for years has subsided with the help of counseling just last year, at 33. It wasn't really a thing when I was a kid. I can't even remember one adult asking me if I was okay, but that loving bond just isn't there and never will be, no matter how much she tries to push it on us. Now we're adults with children of our own. I have very little respect for her, and she's gone on to make bad decision after bad decision in life. My mother has taught me what not to do in life, so I thank her for that at least, but I'll never love her in the way a daughter could. It's a huge shame for everyone, and I'm so sorry this has happened to your family. You sound like a wonderful, supportive father, and I'm sure you'll be a big help to your children emotionally, as they will you. Best of luck. Op answer: that sounds like a truly horrific thing and a great tragedy that no child or spouse should ever experience. I can't even begin to imagine leaving any of our children behind, not unless someone was physically dragging me away against my own will. I'm so sorry you and your family went through that. I certainly hope your father was able to move on and realize that he was not the one responsible for your mother's actions, and I'm glad you've managed to pass this yourself. You'll make a wonderful parent too, if you aren't one already, because you've learned, sadly with the hard way, just how fragile and sensitive children are and how important their parents are to them. Best of luck to you too, and I wish you nothing but joy in your life. Redditor 5, hi, up. I was your twins in this situation. About 8 years ago I caught my mother cheating on my father. They had been together nearly 30 years at the time. It was an affair that everyone knew about except for my dad and his kids. Literally after the divorce, friends of my dad began commenting that they had seen my mother at gatherings where couple were expected, only to find her there alone. I found it through texts after she had told me to look for an old message on her phone. I told my dad because I loved both my parents, but I didn't love one more than the other. My mother wasn't remorseful until she realized my father was going to go through with the divorce. She then turned vengeful, demanding money, claiming abuse, and eventually went to our vacation house and family home without warning in order to take things that she wanted, not just her things but all of our baby pictures, fine china left to me by my grandmother, and things like our everyday dinnerware. My father loved my mother dearly and he couldn't bring himself to leave her high and dry, though our state says infidelity equals no right to alimony, so he purchased her a home, car, and furniture. She was basically living off of him still while also running around like a teenager. It made me sick. I had no desire to be part of my mother's life. My father never pushed the issue early on and he never spoke bad of her. He always told us kids that we were adults and could make our own choice to have her in our lives. I chose to not speak to my mother or acknowledge her in any way for 4 years. It was the best 4 years of my life. However, my father soon guilted me into having a relationship with her because he felt bad for her. I've been back in contact for 3 years and I'm miserable. She calls me daily, is constantly trying to do things with me, shows up where I am uninvited and unannounced, and generally is a pain in my ass. So your kids are all old enough to make decisions concerning their relationship with their mother. Keep being pro-choice about their relationship with her. Do not force them to do anything. This is something they have to figure out on their own. They will be okay. And for the love of all that is holy, please do not let this woman wear you down on your decision to cut her out of your life. No matter what she says or does. I see my father suffer greatly from losing my mother and still loving her, trying to help her, and getting shit on in return. It breaks my heart because he deserves so much more than what she did to him. Best of luck and much love, support, and wishes of strength to you and your family. Op answer: I'm sorry to hear that about your father. Have you considered getting him into therapy? This is very unhealthy for him, and subsequently all of you, how he lets your mother run rampant. If my wife was attempting anything of the sort, I'd have completely cut her off from our children, as I can't see any possible benefit by allowing her to stay in touch with them. Protecting my children, and cherishing them, comes first before everything else. As for your relationship with your mother, why not simply cut it off again? You don't owe her anything, and your father should understand that you're your own person and he shouldn't even attempt to guilt you into doing anything you don't want. And for the love of all that is holy, please do not let this woman wear you down on your decision to cut her out of your life. I have no intention of doing that. We will always share a connection through our children, but she has effectively, from the first time she cheated, stopped being my wife in every way possible. I sincerely hope your father does listen to you and does get into therapy and does move on from your mother. If he's so desperate to love someone, there are plenty of people out in this wide world of ours that are far more deserving of his affections. Best of luck to you too, and I certainly hope things start turning for the better from here on. Redditor 6, I signed up for a Reddit account so I could give you some insight. I'm 28 years old. When I was 16 years old, I found photos of my father and my mother's best friend. You know, naked photos of them together. It ruined my life. Straight up, I'm forever changed. It was over a decade ago and I still can't forgive my father, no matter how much my mother has been trying to get me to reconnect with him. And she tries, trust me. I honestly don't know if your kids will ever forgive their mother for me. I can't forgive my dad. I just can't. I've tried. I still try and have a relationship with him, but it's very difficult. By cheating on my mother, he betrayed my brother and I, too. He betrayed our family. It destroyed my mother, and no matter what my parents' problems were, she never deserved that. He was very understanding of this for a long time, but now he just thinks I should grow up. I will never have a relationship with him the way him or my mother wants me to. That being said, if your kids can't reconcile with their mother, well, it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. It's really sad, of course, but sometimes we just can't. It's life. It's sad, but it's life. All you can do is keep encouraging it, but if they don't want to, don't try and force it. What you need to focus on is being there for them, supporting them, encouraging them, and should they want to open up to you about how they feel about their mother, allow them to. Remain positive about their relationship with her, but in the end, it may not work. But that's not your fault, not your failing. That's hers. Redditor follow-up, I was an adult when I discovered my mom cheating on my dad, but my kid sister was only like 14 or 15 at the time. My mom stopped being a parent, and was focusing most of her attention on her little fantasy affair. I still talk to her casually for small things, but she has fallen from grace in my eyes, no longer my mother, but a pathetic, selfish fool. To make things worse, the heinous wife of the man she cheated with stalked and harassed my family, including my little sister. The ducking C verbally attacked and harassed my poor ducking sister via phone, FB, SMS, etc. Too late to do anything now, but it made me relish the misery she must have been going through with her husband, who was begging for a divorce. But the C stole all of his paperwork and his phones because she's a useless, manipulative housewife. I think I am more upset with my mother for continuing to put her damn children on the line to continue something with a man that has a literal psychopath for a wife, than I am at her having the affair. Redditor 7, well, shit. I'm sorry. For you and your kids. But you seem to be handling things just fine. Your kids will be fine. Eventually. So will you. Redditor 8, first of all, your story really hit home as I read it. I guess you could say I'm the youngest child of your story. My family went through a very similar situation when I was a teenager. It's hard for children to accept life-changing events, and even more so for teens emo. My brother decided to live with my mom and I stayed with my dad. I'm sure it is different for people, but their divorce really stuck with me for a while. I made some poor choices as a teen, and I would always try to blame it on my parents, like it was their fault for making life so different. Looking back as an adult, I know that I was just lashing out. I know now that my parents separated to make our lives better. Things were not great towards the end of their marriage. I think it would be good for all of you to talk to a professional. I did later in life, and it truly helped me. Stay strong and take it one day at a time. Good luck. Redditor 9, your kids will get over this, and it would probably be best to get your youngest into seeing a counselor to help her sort her feelings. As far as your kids reacting to this, well, look at it from the perspective that someone that loved, looked up to their entire life just betrayed all of them. The entire family unit. It wasn't just you and your wife. She didn't just cheat, she had an affair, and it was them that found out about it. Honestly, she put them in one of the most selfish and ducked up positions a parent can do to their kids. She betrayed them all, and them finding out were forced to pick a side. People will say there are no sides in this, but there are, and your kids picked you. Because your wife picked someone else over your family. Talk to them, and keep up communicating with them. Op answer, the entire family unit. It wasn't just you and your wife. She didn't just cheat, she had an affair, and it was them that found out about it. She betrayed them all, and them finding out were forced to pick a side. At times I wonder why she didn't think about them, if not me. Yes, our children were, for the most part, already establishing their lives independently, but we were and still are a tightly knit family. This is probably due to me being an orphan and never knowing any true family, other than the one I made and the ones that people welcomed me into over the years, so I had my hand in raising them with the belief that family was important, and that if one of us faltered, the others should be there to support them and help them. I worry that this is what makes them harbor negative emotions for their mother, that a member of our family willingly chose to destroy it. Or rather, our marriage. Because it's not just a one-time thing. This wasn't a brief absence of sanity. The family is still strong, and I'm glad our children are dealing with this as well as they are, but I see them and I know I will always look at them and see my children, my sons and daughters, as someone to look over, no matter their age or apparent maturity. Talk to them, and keep up communicating with them. That was the plan, yes. Thank you for your reply. Redditor 10, will they get over this? Will they eventually form a tangible relationship with their mother? Will they heal? They will be permanently affected by the event, since they saw it and had to make the decision to tell you about it. Until now, you have handled the situation admirably. Keep doing what you are doing because that is all you can do. At this point, it is all about minimizing the after effect of her actions on the kids. Her suicide attempt was obviously meant to put her back in the victim position. Redditor 11, the only thing you can do to affect your children's relationship with their mother is to tell them that they don't have to pick a side. They may feel like they have to ignore or hate her to support you, but they don't, and you can reassure them that it is okay to still love their mother and that you won't stop loving them if they talk to her. Go easy on her parents, they love her like you love your kids, and she just blew up her entire life, then attempted suicide. Of course they are doing everything they can think of to save her life, just like you would be for one of your children. Not saying you need to acquiesce to their demands, just that you don't need to hate them. Op answer, the only thing you can do to affect your children's relationship with their mother is to tell them that they don't have to pick a side. I told them that right from the start, that even though what's happening between us two is affecting the whole family, and that understandably some resentment or bitterness might float up to the surface, they shouldn't push their mother away. Before the suicide attempt on Nye, they kept in touch with their mother on at least every second day, if not on a daily basis, but they did confide in me that they were not so eager slightly before Nye because she was trying to get to me through them, just telling them she was sorry, that she wanted to make everything back and make us a whole family again. They were uncomfortable with that, hence the gradual lessening in communication. Go easy on her parents, they love her like you love your kids. I understand that perfectly well. But for the time being, they're simply not helping the situation at hand with their persistence that we could make it past this and get back together. We could, and should, make it past all of this, but under no circumstance will we ever get back together. Not saying you need to acquiesce to their demands, just that you don't need to hate them. Not to worry, I understood what you were saying. It's much appreciated. Redditor 12, nobody here is going to like what I'm saying, but I'm speaking from experience. So you were married 25 years, she slips up once and that's it, that's the end? And you tell us that you're numb. It's obvious that you're very angry, but if you have no feeling for someone who is suffering horribly for what she did, surely you realize that's not a good state of mind in which to make such a big decision, right? Has she always been manipulative, etc.? I mean, nobody knows her better than you do. Yeah, she made a mistake, it happens as often as it doesn't in marriage. But your ego might be more involved than your heart. I've been married 28 years and have never cheated but have weathered a very similar problem where trust seemed thoroughly shattered. We're still together. We're very happy. Trust is slowly being rebuilt. It can happen, even to someone as furiously angry as I was. I'm really glad I was able to forgive. You have 1,000 reasons why that's not good for you, but the truth is you are in no condition right now to judge what is good for you. Redditor follow-up, I'm with you. Infidelity is like murder on this sub, so you'll have to weather the downvotes for expressing an unpopular opinion. It is troubling how there is a complete lack of empathy for this woman, someone that lost her children and the life she knew. She ducked up, hugely, but that should not damn her for eternity. Forgiveness is a difficult process, but in many cases it can do a great amount of healing. Redditor 13, when I was about your twins' age, I was the kids in this scenario. My dad found out about an affair my mom had been having with a coworker, he left her, and an ugly divorce ensued. I was living on my own a few thousand miles away at the time, so my day-to-day life was unaffected, but my relationships certainly were. I haven't spoken to my mother in years and don't intend to again. I haven't spoken to her sister, my aunt, with whom I was previously pretty close, in almost as long because I was frustrated with her insistence on trying to interfere. I only recently began speaking with my grandmother again. My mother thought the anger would pass and that I would eventually want to reconnect with her. When it became clear that that wasn't going to happen, she got angry and desperate, to the point of threatening that if she killed herself it would be my fault for abandoning her. The reason why I bring this all up is just to make it clear that I've been there. One of the strangest things in this whole process for me was seeing people's insistence that for my own well-being it was necessary that I eventually reconnect with my mother. If I didn't want any kind of relationship with her, then that couldn't be an informed decision that I'd made. Instead, it must be me lashing out in anger. But it wasn't that to me. In my eyes, she was just a terrible person who happened to be related to me, and not someone who I wanted in my life. It was a valuable life lesson. Family is very important, but it doesn't trump everything. Based on what you described here, your wife sounds like an incredibly selfish and short-sighted person. The affair, the poorly attempted cover-up, and the suicide seem like the actions of someone who's only looking out for herself and how she feels at that moment. I'm going to go out on a limb and bet that extended into her relationship with your children. Maybe I'm reading my own experiences into this too much, but I'd bet that they already had serious issues with her even before this, so despite what the timing may seem to indicate, their reaction isn't entirely about the affair. It's been building up for a long time, and this was the spark. That's also why people on the outside won't get it, and will insist that for your children's health they need to have some kind of relationship with their mother. The people saying that probably have decent mothers, and recognize how important their relationships with their own mothers were to their growth as people. But it seems likely that your kids never had that in the first place, so that ship sailed a long time ago and the damage is done. If they're like me, they may feel like there's little at stake here, since their relationships with your wife just weren't that great to begin with. And again, this might be me reading too much of my own past into this, but if my mother had gone through with the suicide attempt that she kept threatening, all it would have done is make me angrier at her. It's possible that your kids maybe saw through the suicide attempt as a plea for attention and sympathy by someone who deserves neither, so if their reaction seemed out of line, that could be why. It sounds like you raised good kids who know right from wrong. Keep telling them that you'd be perfectly fine with them having a relationship with their mom, because it'll be good for them to hear it. Don't be surprised if they elect not to anyway. Your wife will almost certainly spin it as you poisoning the well against her, because the only other alternative is admitting to her friends and family that she's such a god-awful person that her own children disowned her. So she'll make you the ashole to try to save face. Just try not to get caught up in that if you can avoid it. As for your kids, clearly they're going through some shit right now, but they seem pretty resolute in what they've chosen. They're adults or near enough to it who are capable of making these sorts of decisions. I think they'll be fine, even if fine ends up looking not like you'd expect. I do think encouraging them to seek help is a good idea, whether or not they go through with it. For you, I look back on my own experiences and have almost no regrets. I lost a lot of family in the fallout of everything that happened, and ideally I wish it hadn't turned out that way. But disowning my mother in particular was the right call, and I'm a better, happier, and healthier person for having made it. It sounds like your kids may be on the same path, and if so, that's not at all the worst case scenario that people claim. It might be the right choice for them, and all you can reasonably do is just support them and trust them with whatever choices they make. Answer: thank you for sharing your experience with us here in the thread. It honestly does mean a lot to hear from someone who's been through something as similar as what is going on here. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the day after tomorrow or a month from that. Maybe their mother will wise up, maybe she'll realize that she's only pushing them away with her incessant pestering to get at me to forgive her and take her back. Or maybe not. Time alone will tell. Your story though has brought up a very fine point here. Not everyone has the same state of mind and they certainly don't need to keep people that abuse. I hope I'm not misusing the word here, but what your mother did to you I'd see owned as abuse them anywhere near them. If it turns out they're better off without their mother in their lives, I certainly won't be trying to push them into any kind of relationship. I want them to be happy, that's about all I care. Again, my sincere thanks for sharing your story with us. Redditor 14, my ex-W cheated and our children along with my older daughters from a previous relationship suffered horribly. My oldest tried to commit suicide over it. The thing I can tell you is just always be there for them. Spend as much time as you can with him. It's okay to show your emotions to them. They will use you to connect and this in a way will help them draw closer to you. As for your STBXW, there is not much you can do for her. I would just offer a level of forgiveness, but I would still move on with your life. Often people confuse the two things as one. You can forgive, but it doesn't mean you have to stay with that person. I personally agree with you. I divorced over it too. I however wished I would have been more strict about it, but it just didn't work out that way for me. Your kids will heal and they will move on with you. Mine did. Good for you for divorcing her and being a great father to your kids. I wish you all the best. Op answer, oh dear, I hope your oldest received the help they desperately needed over it. I can't being to contemplate what my reaction would have been like if one of our children became so overwhelmed that they attempted suicide. Thank you very much for your words and for sharing your experience with me, I honestly appreciate it. Thank you and best of luck in life and love to you and your family, you more than deserve it. Redditor 15, I'm not sure if this has been mentioned in another response, but I know from my personal experiences, that numbness can often be a way to mask anger towards someone who has hurt you. That anger may not be tangibly noticeable to you, but I would recommend considering that it can affect others around you and even cloud your judgment as to what you really want to gain from this experience. I would assume that after being married for 22 years, you deeply loved your wife, and despite that feeling of distance and your desire to detach yourself entirely, you may regret not living up to the responsibilities of your own ethics as it pertains to understanding her betrayal, if not forgiving her for it, especially if the consequences became more permanent and that chance to grow from the experience passed the entire family by. Whether your wife lived up to those standards or not, at this point it is more about setting the right example for your kids and being honest with yourself about living up to your own expectations. Op answer, the numbness only comes into play where the mother of my children is concerned. All other parts of my life go on and I'm perfectly capable of emotions of all sorts. It's just that when she's brought to the fore of any talk, there's this emptiness, for lack of a better part, like you know something is supposed to be there, but it isn't, so you shrug and move on towards whatever is next. What you really want to gain from this experience, a clean and simple divorce from the wife, so that we can move on with our lives, and our children to be healthy and happy as they could be given the situation. That's about it, really. You may regret not living up to the responsibilities of your own ethics. I'm not sure what you mean with this. Please, clarify. Thank you for watching. Comment what do you think about this situation. Don't forget to like and subscribe.